Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Stanisci of NLL Lacrosse Talk. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now on NLL Lacrosse Talk, our co-host Gary Groob. Gary, how you doing?
I'm great, Frank. How are you?
I'm fantastic, and I'm looking forward to our guest. And we have our guest there. In case you don't know her, we'll tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Amber Hill. She is of the Haudenosaunee national captain from 2006, 2019. Her hometown is Lewiston, New York. She went to college at the University of Syracuse, the league's United Women's Lacrosse League, twice in Syracuse single season save record, 193 to be specific. Number 3 all-time in Syracuse career save percentage, 511. Number 3 all-time in Syracuse career save percentage, 511. 2007 led Big East with 10.16 saves per game. 2007 most outstanding player of the Big East Championship. 2007 Big East Defensive Player of the Week. 2007 Athletic Director's Honor Roll. 2006 Big East All-Star. 2006 Athletic Director's Honor Roll. And she played also for the Rising Hearts. And now you're a coach. So I've run out of breath. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm okay. I wasn't really going to do that.
Take page 2, Frank?
What's that?
Did you want me to take page 2?
Yeah, yeah. We'll do page 2 after this.
From there.
First and foremost, we always like to ask people what drew them to the game of lacrosse and why they're in it.
Well, my people created the game, and I kind of grew up with a stick in my hand. I had a lot of boy cousins that, just like to fire the ball around and played box. And I just fell in love with the game. I wanted to be like my older cousins, all the boys. I wanted to play with the boys and be tough and cause trouble. And it was just, like a love at first sight type thing.
Yeah, it's not like you didn't like girls. It's because it was pretty much the only place you could do it, right? So just to be clear.
Just to be clear. And also, when you grow up getting wedgies and noogies, you have to learn how to either take them or give them better. So I had to mix in or I was just going to be a constant victim.
Yeah, I heard you gave a lot of those. So
yeah.
Yeah,
well, a little rough.
Yeah. No, well, listen, I appreciate your background, your history, and also, it's the creator's game, and we call it that for a reason because of its origins. It is one of the places where Aboriginal folks, Native people, however, and I apologize if I say it the wrong way, or a way that you appreciate. The bottom line being that it is some place that the Native community has a chance to continue their traditions and share it with others. I think that's the greatest thing about lacrosse.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you there, especially having the background and being raised in the background and being able to share it with people that, might not know or have never heard. When you grow up in it, you just automatically assume that everybody knows that it's the creator's game and it's medicine and how it's used. And then when you go outside of, those boundaries and you talk to other people and they're like, yeah, I just play because my friend played and I just got into it or whatever the situation may be. It's astounding. And then people find it so powerful when I share my story and our connection and our roots to the game. And I've been doing a lot of speaking engagements because people find it so powerful.
Well, share that power with us.
Oh, what a loaded question.
Well, you can unload it. How's that?
Well, I mean, I speak on a lot of panels with colleges and youth teams about, the medicine that's inside the game and how strongly we're connected to it. We, personally, when I play, every single time that I step onto the grass, the turf, whatever it may be, I have my little ritual, and I always thank the creator for allowing me to be there and being allowed to participate and having that, that like being in the moment, having that actual moment happen to me and being where my feet are is so important. And knowing that I might not step back onto the field, right? So playing like this is it for me. And I have been doing that since high school. I feel as though it's gotten a lot stronger, especially I remember the first time that I stepped into the Carrier Dome and was able to look around, and I started to cry because, you know, I'm just this small town kid from the res with never riding a bus or walking on a sidewalk, and here I am playing in the dome, and Nyawashikuyo for allowing me to be here and giving me this opportunity and putting this in my path. And, you know, same thing with, you know, Athletes Unlimited this past summer, and, you know, being able to play in Placid and Hawaii and Prague and being everywhere that this game has taken me, and being able to incite those feelings in others and have them feel it right here is really important to me, because that's what this game is all about, right? It's supposed to give you medicine and strength and courage.
We always talk here about the fact that lacrosse, I think maybe at its root, you've explained its root, and one of the byproducts of is the, for the folks that aren't Aboriginal or Native, it's the family, the draw to almost calling it a family game as well, which I think is part of the roots that you just referred to. We call it, you call it medicine.
Mhm.
You know, it's the creator's game, and it's all about family and togetherness for everybody involved in it. So that's a, I want to give you a big thank you and your people for doing that, because you've introduced us to a game. I've been involved with it since the 80s, and I've seen nothing but I've been very surprised at the depth and width of the game itself. It quietly occupies a lot of people's time, love, and you know, they share it everywhere. It's a secret, really.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
now, as a female, and we'll give Gary a chance at asking you stuff. Explain to us why it's important that you help girls get involved in this.
Well, as everyone knows, you know, it's hard just being a female in sports in general.
Mhm.
I don't know if you saw the sportscaster today was fired for talking about how he'd rather shoot himself than watch professional women's basketball. Yeah, disgusting,
It never
disgusting.
stops, does it?
No, and it's just absolutely abhorrent. And I mean, I have a daughter. I was actually pregnant with her when I played in my first World Cup. I was 14 weeks. Um, I think as women, as life givers, we are extremely powerful and we carry very powerful medicines. And for me to be able to inspire and again incite those feelings of being empowered and knowing how powerful you are as a woman, being able to compete at not just lacrosse but any sports. Like I play basketball and I play soccer. um it's important that you bring that respect to the game and respect of yourself and carry yourself with dignity and honor when you step onto the field. And I think that I didn't have that so much growing up. Unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of female role models. I really just, well, it's surrounded by tons of boy cousins and men and iron workers. And we all, I'm sure you guys know how union men are. Like they're not the softest creatures. The best way I could put that. I think having grown up and having my daughter also grow up with me, I had her when I was 20. Um, Being able to grow up together and realize that women, young women, girls just need something different than I think men do and boys do when they're growing up, you know? And sometimes it's different. Do you need a hug and someone to tell you like it's okay? Or do you need a little kick in your ass and hey, like, let's go. You are capable. You
Mhm.
can do this. And again, maybe it's different, maybe it's not for boys, but I feel as though had I had someone that really kind of took a moment to understand me while understanding themselves. Maybe I'd be further along in the game, but that's what I aim for, not just for myself and my daughter, but for all the girls around me.
Yeah, there's a challenge. I had the privilege of doing play-by-play of the first Women's World Hockey Championships, going back 30 years. And I think the challenge for women from the very beginning, even today, is the inward desire to meet the challenge, being challenged by the outward challenges that are coming back in your direction. Because automatically, the point that you made about this sportscaster is he's judging players and people based on other players and people. And the biggest trap we have, the reason I mentioned, I don't want to get off what I wanted to say. I've had a chance for a very long time watch women play hockey. I haven't had the privilege of watching enough women play lacrosse, but I have a suspicion that it's much the same. When given the opportunity to take part and play through time, because women are new to sports, and I think you can answer this as well, the learning curve is a lot sharper than it would be with boys. In other words, girls improve a lot faster because for them it's something new, and they learn from each other, correct? And you play better depending on your opponents, right? So you all
Yeah.
learn together, and you get and because the women finally are getting it, girls are getting a chance to play, their game improves a lot faster than it does boys. I'm not here trying to say, oh, they're going to pass boys. That's not my point, because that's not the issue. The
Yeah.
issue is when women play a game, they put all their hearts in it. And whatever comes out, if you're not satisfied with that, go someplace else, go be somewhere else. I prefer just to look. Again, I don't want any outward pressure on women. I want them to enjoy the inward pressure they put on themselves and the organization that they're a part of. We spend too much time worrying about what people like that guy we don't need to listen to. He doesn't have to be part of our equation.
Right. And I think another piece of that, at least it was for myself, being a young, very, very young mother, is that, and I watch it too with my partner, is that as a mother, and I don't know if you guys have heard this, and as a female, we think about things differently, obviously, but we're also holding on to all different kinds of things. Like, I have to cook dinner, I have to do the laundry, I have to do the grocery shopping. Did I do all the laundry for my kid? Do they have clean, uniforms for tomorrow? Whereas, my partner, he comes home and we have dinner, and maybe he might play some video games, and then he's tired, and then he goes to bed. Right. And like, oh, how come you're not in bed yet? Well, I have to fold the clothes, and I have to make sure my own personal work is done, and make sure everybody's insurance is up to date. So, I think that obviously as a girl, that necessarily doesn't come into play. But as you're growing older and those things are hitting you, that definitely affects. I know it's definitely affected my play and the way that I look at the game and any sport that I play. Right. Like, I'm not getting any younger. But I know, like, men, Johnny Tavares could play for how long? How long did he play? Was he affected because he had a baby and his hips kind of separated? No. So I
don't remember that in any injury report. No.
I don't think that happened to him. So I just feel like, women, we will put our entire heart into everything, and literally everything. And there are just certain circumstances that affect us differently that the men might not necessarily ever have to worry about.
Yeah. You know what? And Gary, I promise you're going to get the ball. I'm going to defend men a little bit, and I hope people don't get mad at me. The thing about men is what they do requires them to concentrate, to work really hard all at once, put everything they got, and then when they stop, they shut down. That's I'm talking about, generally speaking, men. Okay, I'm not talking about every man, and I'm not saying women can't be like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying basically that's the way that they shoot their bolt and then they're done.
Yes.
Women aren't allowed to shoot their bolt. They always got to save something because of what you said. Because being a mother is not a 9-to-5 job, or a 7-to-5 job, or a 7-to-3 job, or I don't know. Gary works like from early in the morning to, so women and men are different, and that's why I really am insulted by hearing somebody say something like that. We can always look at something negatively. It's easy. It's really easy to look at something negatively. It's trying to find the positive in something that takes a little more work. And because some people do, the people don't look real bad like
Yeah.
that guy. So I'm going to take a step back now, and I've given you my opinion. Do you want to expand on what I said or to correct
No,
something?
no, I think you're absolutely right. I feel as though, I always have to have something left in the tank. Like I might shoot my bolt, but my bolt is always shooting,
Mm.
always, like everything that I'm doing, because I feel as though as a woman, I have that much more to prove that I'm not seeking validation from anyone. I will continue to open my mouth and do my own thing, but it's always harder. I feel like it's always harder as a woman to go in and have the confidence and be empowered to do what everyone else is doing naturally. And
Here on here on this show, what we're doing is looking for understanding. So we're not judging you, and we're not assuming what you mean. We're just trying to understand. And it's important to understand what you're talking about because we want to see more girls take part in the game. We want to understand what we can do to make, and there are plenty of people out there that are supportive of girls teams, girls leagues, and we support them and we've heard about them. And it's important that we have patience and understand that we need to listen as much as tell them how to make their leagues, how to play, all this stuff. There has to be a lot of listening as well, because I think it's the only way you have progress.
I agree 100%.
Go ahead, Garrett.
Okay. Well, we've had a few First Nations people on. We've had Delby Palace on. We've had Darius Kilgore on. We've had Jeff Shatler. And Jeff also he agrees 100% with you is that it's much easier to coach girls. They're much more coachable than guys who want to run around and do their own thing or whatever. Women listen and the girls listen and they do what they have to do and get it done. And they are sticklers to get it done.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to life on the res because especially when we had Delby Palace on, he was talking about his book and the rest of it. And you had to grow up right away. Nothing was really easy, and nothing's really easy on the res. It still boggles my mind about life on the res because every time I go up to ILA and go through everything, it's mind-boggling of how that can be. Just literally kilometers away from somewhere else where everything is affluent. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So
Yeah, it's a different world. It's
Totally
for
different.
sure.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I don't think that I don't want everyone that listens to me to think that like my story is indicative of every Native person that just like every African American that grows up, or like we don't all have the same story. I could have this same story as someone in, I don't know, Botswana, I don't know. But you come see it firsthand, and a lot of us do have the same types of stories. And I think that the origin story comes from things that were done to my people. Of course, there's been a huge awakening with the residential schools. Both of my grandparents were residential school survivors, and I have 19 uncles and aunts, and I think that there was a lot of abuse that occurred and trickled down, unfortunately. A lot of alcoholism, a lot of drug use, and unfortunately, when those things happen in your family line, it's a really hard cycle to break through. And I told you I apologize for my dogs. I have
That's
4
okay.
and they're
No
insane.
problem.
Just right at the right moment, right? So I am very proud of the work that I have done for myself and for my immediate family and my brother and sister to work through all of our family trauma. But there was a lot. There was like a lot, and especially growing up poor. And I saw this meme one time that was like, oh, you don't know real hunger until you've slept for dinner. And I don't think that a lot of people would understand what that even means, but I do.
Mhm.
And it's unfortunate, but you know, like you said, you've had other First Nations, other Indigenous people on. That unfortunately is the life, and you're so desensitized because that's your normal, right? When I went to Syracuse and I would tell these stories about, you know, like my father being so drunk and passing out before he could get into the house, and somehow or another didn't have clothes on, so we just covered him up with the rug that had a bunch of rocks on it so the school bus driver wouldn't see his ass again. Larry, it's funny,
Shouldn't
like
laugh.
I
Shouldn't
was
laugh.
laughing
We
Oh,
shouldn't
I'm
laugh.
sorry, but yeah,
I could barely get it out because I'm like, oh, remember that time? So I'm telling my teammates, and they're just like, oh, you poor thing. And I'm like, what's the problem?
right.
Like, because that's normal for me. And not that I thought that everybody's dad acted like that or everybody's mom acted like that, but again, you're just so desensitized and think
Yeah.
that, well, it might not be normal, but it's okay.
It's your experience. It's what
Right.
you experienced, right?
Oh,
And you're a
Right.
creature of what you experience. Your world, you know, so many people, you're right. A lot of people go through what you're going through and what your people are going through. It's all about poverty. It's all about let me put it this way. Consider that life is is a series of highways, right? You got a series of highways, and you've got so many highways you can take in life. Gary's had opportunities. I've had opportunities. The problem with our native community is they have one lane, and they're not given an on ramp onto the rest for whatever reason. We don't understand the reason, and I know you're trying to explain why it's like that, and why, really honestly, why do native people put up with it? And it's not fair. So in doing what you're doing with the games that you're promoting, because I don't want this to become something that's just, I don't want to ignore the problems in the native community, but
Mhm.
I want to understand how we can witness helping the native community, and this game being the medicine. So it gets you out of where you were in the reservation that you were. When you go back, do you get a chance to help other, when you went back and you tell people about the experience, about being in that big stadium and how great it was, and there's something out there that's worth checking out? Does it inspire? Is there a way that you have been able to bring that message home and offer hope for change for people on the reservation?
Well, I mean, I'm 10 minutes away. Like I'm home. Um, I'm not far away at all. And I still go out there for, you know, our ceremonies and stuff. I think that I think the biggest issue is, you know, fear of the unknown. I
Mhm.
know when I was going to school, I just wanted to come home. Like I just miss the res. I miss when people talk like, well, what's it like growing up on the res? It's like, you know, you read about or you see in movies like the small town country, everyone knows everybody's business, and if they don't know who you are, they ask who your parents are, and that's how they relate you back. It's like that. And I think I was just comfortable with just being around, if not family, then second, third, fourth cousins, whatever. And when I told my dad that I had wanted to come home from school, he was like, "You're not missing anything. When you come home, so and so's still going to be drinking over on Green Road. So and so's still going to be doing what they're doing. The res will always be the res. The res is always going to be here. So you're not missing anything." And that was like a really big wake up call to me because I didn't think about it that way. Like I just wanted to be home. And it is like to this day, like same people doing the same things. And I think when you're not raised to understand that there's such a bigger world out there and it is okay to travel and explore new things and new people, you just get stagnant. Like my dad went to two places, Home Depot and the beer store. He never left the res. Like
Right.
he never left, and he was happy with just, and that's okay too. Like you don't want to leave the, like my brother and sister still are out there like on our family compound, and you know my sister lives with her partner out there, and if that you don't want to leave, that's fine, but I feel like some natives have like a really big fear of maybe not just like a FOMO, a fear of missing out, but also like being their best self. Like, okay, so you go out there and you don't make the national team. You go out there and you know, don't succeed at school. So what? Like, keep pushing, keep trying. And I think, you know, there's just a big fear of everything.
Right.
And
When I think of, you know, because we've talked to a few people, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, and what I'm trying to help with, and if I don't help, please tell me I'm not. I like to think of the lacrosse stick for you. If I can make this judgment without any reason or any logic or any right, the lacrosse stick for you is a bit of home, isn't it? So that
yes,
when you travel, a bit of home is always with you, right?
yeah,
So it makes it easier. The lacrosse stick, playing lacrosse, you feel like you have a piece of home. I guess that's what I was trying to get out of you without telling you, because I don't want to tell you, right? I'm an old man and I have problems. I think I have answers, you know, and in your culture and in my culture, we respect old people, so I'm lucky there.
yes,
You know, so there's a chance, in what we've heard from a few people, that the res can be a place where we can find people who play lacrosse and they go out into the world, and hopefully, knowing that they're good at lacrosse, knowing that they love the game, they can take part, and it can be enough of a distraction that they're not, and this is the key word I think I'm beginning to hear from you, is intimidation. It's
yes,
hard because it's very intimidating to be out there and to put yourself out there, because I can imagine, because I, as an immigrant, was discriminated against and I felt small.
yeah,
So when I went out, I felt like I had to be very careful that I didn't make a mistake, because if I did, I would be justifying the way that people who abused me, mistreated me because of my background, I would give them fuel to do it. And insecure people, that's what they do. And you shouldn't be insecure. You've been very successful, and nobody on the reservation should be made to feel they're insignificant. And what lacrosse does, and we hear here all the time, is that it takes a few of you. And I got to tell you honestly, this old man's very sad to hear um, the pain that you're trying not to say. And I know how much it hurts. I'm not hearing you. You're doing a great job of hiding the pain that you're feeling. Um, but I got to tell you, you know, I respect who you are and what you've done. Um, Gary, maybe to cheer this up a little bit, let's talk about the
We'll go a little
positive,
bit of lacrosse, yeah.
right? Let's talk about
I think that's great, honestly, Frank. I think what you're touching on is really important, because so many of us have been, at least the way that I was brought up, you know, like crying doesn't fix anything.
no.
Right. So like never cried. Like my father passed, I didn't cry, because what does it fix? And then, you know, many years of therapy, you realize it's something different. And there is a lot of hurt there. And when you're trying to, I have made myself grow because I don't want my daughter to go through the things that I did and make the same mistakes because I didn't respect myself or others around me. So I have raised her to have manners and etiquette, and hey, maybe we don't share that, or maybe that's not necessarily appropriate at the dinner table. And hey, like, not that I'm raising her in the same environment that I was raised in, but I don't want her, when she goes to whatever university she wants to be a neurosurgeon, wherever she goes, I don't want her to feel like she doesn't fit in because she doesn't know how to say please and thank you, or she doesn't know how to use silverware appropriately, or just have common etiquette. When I went to Syracuse, I was so confused by people consistently asking me, "Hey Amber, how's your day going?" And it sounds so stupid. It really does, like, looking back. But I was like, I don't know you. You're not my friend. Do you really care? What is your problem? Why do you keep, I just saw you like 4 hours ago at the lift. It's the same thing. Instead of having, again, etiquette and just realizing like, hey, that person's just curious or wondering or actually really does care about how you're doing. And instead of you biting their head off, why don't you soften your edges a little bit? And it's okay. Like, it is okay. Like, relax. And I don't want her to ever feel that way going into a situation, or not feeling as though she belongs, because I grew up and I had red hair and green eyes, and my brother and sister are both dark skin and dark eyes and dark hair. And I was always picked on and questioned whether or not my dad was my dad. And that's a whole nother trauma I had to deal with.
Sure.
But yeah, like growing up on the res as like a red haired native, that's pretty hard. And I think that's where a lot of my resilience comes from, and trying to get through. I'm gonna be successful, and I'm gonna be strong, and I'm gonna do whatever I need to do and be me, and I don't care what other people think. I can't care, because I'm just gonna sit here and cry, and it doesn't fix anything. It might
Right.
fix something for a while, that and the tub of ice cream, but in the long run, I'm not gonna feel well.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That changed gears a little bit, though. I want to actually talk about your lacrosse career a little bit. Uh, first off, why goalie?
Because I was always huge compared to my peers, and I'm left-handed, which we all know is like a unicorn in lacrosse. And yeah, like I grew up around boy cousins that didn't want to be a goalie. So here's a pillow, here's an old bucket helmet, like you're a goalie now. And I did try when I started playing organized lacrosse, like in school and stuff, to play attack. I was going to be the next Gary Gay. I swore by it. And no one else was like as fearless, I guess, as I was. I did not care. Like, I like bruises, like, let's go. And again, being like the only lefty on the team, they're like, well, you're gonna go in net. So I was just destined to be there.
Well, you certainly picked it up and ran with it, because my God, you took a look at your high school stats at 250 saves, 73% save percent of shots faced. Incredible. MVP 2004, 2005, and then you take it off to Syracuse and you become a standout there. So obviously you picked it up and you ran with the opportunity.
I did, and I was never formally coached, which is when I go to these camps and clinics now that they're having me at, they're like, hey, can you coach our kids? And I'm like, let's see what you got. Like, because we all have different styles. Maybe your style works for you. And when I tell them, hey, I never had a coach growing up, so this isn't the end all, like, good on you that you're here and you get to be coached by me, but just know, like, just keep doing things what you're doing, stop the ball.
Now you got a chance to play for your idol, my idol too, Gary Gay. What was that all about? Like, how, like, do you get up with the awe-inspiring thing, and then you actually have to, oh my God, I got to play for him?
So, well, my situation was a little different because, like I referenced, I was pregnant with my daughter, playing in my first World Cup, and I was 19. And the summer that that was all happening, and I was trying to figure out a way to hide a pregnancy, Lisa Miller, my college coach, ended up going to Harvard, and I got notified via email that she had left, and then got another email that Gary would be my head coach, which I never saw coming.
Right.
So I'm walking in there, I don't know, 6 months pregnant for fall ball, with my idol, and trying to, and they had already known. John Battolino was my assistant, and he had gone to Peterborough where the games were. And I didn't get big at first. I just kind of got big everywhere else. And he came up to me after one of the games, and he was like, hey, you played well, whatever. And he was like, when are you gonna tell us? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he was like, you can't fool me. When are you gonna tell us? And I was like, oh no. I was like, we'll just talk when we get back to campus. Cause I was like, I don't, he just must have known somehow. So yeah, I had to sit down with him and Gary and tell him, I'm pregnant and this is the deal, and I'm still gonna play. And they're like, well, we can't let you play now that we know that you're pregnant. Like, you can't play fall ball. Like, are you crazy? And I was like, yes, I am. And also, I'm gonna have the baby, and then I'm just gonna bring the baby to practice. Like, I'm just coming to practice. And he was like, no, you're gonna want to be with your baby. And I'm like, it's just a baby. It's fine. I'm going to, like feed it, put it back in the drawer, and then I'm coming to practice and I'll bring the baby. And they just thought I was insane. So I probably was. And so I played a couple months under Gary, but unfortunately, I had worked a full-time job for the campus police, and I was going to school full-time, and I didn't have a very supportive father for my child. So one of those things had to go. So unfortunately, I had to give up lacrosse like right near the end of the season.
Right.
So, yeah. And, Gary was very understanding. I go to every single alumni thing there is. I'm so glad that, he has brought the team to where it's gone, and, Kayla's taken over, and this is like, I've never been treated differently. In fact, the girls threw me a baby shower. They bought, Jordan's crib, and they were so good to me. They still continue to be so good to me, despite me having to go through a lot of growing pains with a lot of them. So it was interesting. It was an interesting time.
Now with the Haudenosaunee Nationals, captain since 2006, all the way to 2019. Let's talk about that, because I know that the Iroquois team has an awful lot of headache just being recognized in the men's game as well, with Ireland having to give up their spot so they could actually get in a Worlds. The women's game. Let's talk about that and the Nationals.
What do you want to know?
Absolutely everything.
What was it like being a part of that?
Well, I was a part of it actually until the end of Pala, the last time I competed. It was pretty incredible to be a part and, lead my national team for over a decade, close to almost 2. Yeah, it was, I don't have any words for it, really, truly. Like,
what do you remember? What
well, even the program itself and your teammates and
my teammates were some of the most inspiring people that I've ever played with. My cousin Hio, who just got named to the Hall of Fame, the North American Sports Hall of Fame. I'm trying to remember the exact name. Just really talented players that, again, some of them, we have the same origin story, and they've just pushed. In 2006, when we first started the program, it was very difficult. We didn't have any support. We had to like raffle tickets off, just like get jerseys and sticks. Right. And we didn't have any sponsorships, and everyone's paying out of pocket for everything, right down to balls. And then just recently, we went to Pala, and thankfully, everything, was sponsored. We have cool jerseys, and the team is really coming together, and I'm really excited to see where it goes from here. Now that I have retired internationally from field, not necessarily box, but we'll see where that goes too.
Now, how did you get involved in coaching?
I don't know. I think with my personality, it just kind of always came naturally, and I naturally like to help people and guide them through the sport. So I started coaching youth programs in the area, and just again, like, what am I gonna miss out on if I apply for this and it doesn't happen? So recently I actually took the position with Area Scouts, and I'm the national director of goalkeeping. So I'm not, I guess I'm coaching on more of a macro level now, but I'm really excited for that. And I still coach my daughter's team, Monster Elite, and they're nationally ranked out of Rochester, New York. So that's exciting too.
Now let's talk a little bit about Athletes Unlimited. You referenced it earlier just briefly, but let's talk about this program. This is doing wonders, I think, for the women's game. And
absolutely, I think, for all sports, yeah.
Yeah, and I just think just the exposure itself is something that's just to behold now, and this is hopefully the norm. And getting these faces, getting your faces out and about, So it becomes like the men's game where everybody knows everybody.
Yes. And they're very athlete centered, and which I can certainly appreciate. They, always have photographers out there. They make sure that their media people are out there asking, questions and getting stories on you from the sideline. And they really, because if you individually as an athlete do well, then the league does well. And what they said that they realized, I believe it was like the second day I was there, they had like this big talk with the owners is, people they follow sports teams, but with the age of social media, people are really following athletes just individually. So that's the focus that they're taking. And I think, and of course, maybe I'm a little biased because, I've bought into Athletes Unlimited, but I'm seeing what they're doing now with the basketball and all the players there, and their social media and the content, like, it's incredible. We live in a digital world now, and that's how we're getting fed. And I'm looking at all their profiles and the content that Athletes Unlimited is creating for the individual players so that they can release it on their respective profiles. And I mean, it's amazing. And of course, as an athlete, who wouldn't want that? Like, I shoot my own content all the time, and then I'm like, okay, delete, that's garbage. But if you're having professional photographers and videographers follow you around, and then they're adding in graphics, and it's not something that's coming out of pocket, from your company, from your individual whatever, I mean, it's awesome. And the way that they really put all of us on a pedestal, like, again, like we talked about earlier, as a woman, like constantly having to battle everything just and scrape and claw just to get where we think we need to be. Athletes Unlimited makes it so much easier. You show up, everything's taken care of, like down from like your sneakers to your food. We just need you to perform. Like, don't worry about you want your family here, we'll pay for it. Doesn't matter. We just want you to perform and be the best athlete that you can be. You want your dog here? Bring your dog. We'll pay for that too. It doesn't matter. Like, just play your heart out. That's all we ask of you. And I absolutely love the organization. And I really think that they nailed it. I think it's going to be, financially stable and just, it's going to stick around. And I hope it does.
It's more than sports, right? Because it includes, Human Rights Commission, public relations, and it talks about the culture in Niagara. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. And then you have all the leagues that you're involved in. So it gives people an opportunity to understand that, how important sports are. That's all. And I want to make sure that we appreciate that about the organization, right?
Yeah, that like you said in the beginning, I played for Rising Hearts, and they give you the opportunity to pick a nonprofit that you want to play for and give awareness to. And it was really important to me to find a nonprofit that was strictly run by obviously Native and Indigenous peoples. And you know what, honestly, that was really hard for me, because when I was doing my research and looking for nonprofits that took care of missing and murdered Indigenous women and the residential schools, you wouldn't believe how many groups are out there that claim to be Indigenous run, and they're not. They're tied to some other third party organization that's tied to something else, that's tied to a farm. I had to do my homework for over a week just to make sure that I was picking the right organization for myself. And that's really sad, to be honest. So
I think it's called cultural appropriation.
That's what it's called.
Yeah. Now I'm curious, getting back to the Athletes Unlimited. You play in teams, but one person is crowned champion on a point system. How does that work? There was a Taylor Cummings was the inaugural champ, and I'm just curious, how does it work with a point system?
So different things in the game are different points. Like I believe a save was 6 points, and then you get points for ground balls and shots. And then like if I let in a goal, I had points subtracted. And then it obviously, like I said, was dictated by position. So like I wouldn't be scoring a goal, so I wouldn't get those points. But I think it was like 12 points, cause turnovers, things of that nature. And then So Mondays was our off day, and we would get drafted to a team, and the 4 point leaders for the previous week would be named captain. So then they would get to draft. So then, Monday we have our draft, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we would practice and lift with the team. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday were our games. And that's where you would obviously accumulate the points. You would also accumulate points by winning your quarter and then winning the game. So like you could win all your quarters, but maybe not necessarily win the game, depending on how it shook out and vice versa. But I forget what the point totals were, but I mean, they were significant. I think it was like 45 per quarter or something. I didn't even know that we got bonuses off of our points. And this is a great thing, because people constantly ask me what you're asking, and they were like, man, it must have been like super hard competition there. And, people must have been like really crazy about their points and money. And, no one was like, I am going to fight my teammate for that ground ball because that's money in my pocket. No one ever brought up their bonus structure. No one ever brought up, how many points they had. No one's like looking on the leaderboard to see who's where and getting no, we just wanted to play. Right, we were just happy to be out there, and obviously also getting the media time for visibility and awareness to spread this. And then AU did a great job with their futures program and bringing, oh my God, like thousands of little girls on so that we could run camps and clinics, during the day, so that the little girls had something to look up to. I think that was an awesome model that they did there. But yeah, that's how the point system worked. And no one really, like we worked hard, but I think realized, like, if you worked harder, obviously as a team, and no one worked individually, that it just worked out better.
Now, I would be remiss in asking about the state of the union for the game itself, for the women's game. Your daughter, Jordan, she's following in your footsteps. She's a player, 6'1", isn't she? At like 13, 14.
She's 6'2" now. Yep, size 13 shoe.
My gosh,
she's a very tall girl. Yep, 275.
She's big too, just in a different way.
Yes. I'm only 5'8". If you see pictures of us standing next to each other, I look like a little sister. It's awesome. She's going to be way better than I ever could dream of being.
But she's a player, not a goaltender.
No, she's a goalie. She's a goalie, just like me. I write and do everything else right-handed. I just play left. I don't know how that happened, and she just happens to be the same way.
Wow.
Just a couple inches.
Might have something to do with the influence of her mother. Does that not tell you how proud she is of you?
Maybe. She
does tell me. Isn't that a hint?
She tells me all the time, and she doesn't listen to me, to be honest with you. It took taking her to Athletes Unlimited and having players like Kaylee Waters and Mira Shane like tell her the same things I would tell her about, like her angle and her step and whatever, for her just to listen. I'm just the mom. I'm just the mom.
No, imitation is the biggest sign of flattery. You're going to take a compliment whether you like it or not, okay?
Yes.
Miss Hill, you're taking a compliment. So
thank you.
Go ahead, Gary, because we don't have much time left, and I know you.
Yeah, I just want to get your take about the women's game in general and where you see it heading in the next, say, 5 years. I think it's on the right trajectory. So,
I mean, I thankfully have been in the game so long, playing and participating, that I'm able to look back at 2005 when I graduated high school to now, not just equipment wise, but skill wise of these players and athleticism, like all of it, all encompassing. Our game, the right trajectory is, you could put more on that, put a little bit more butter on that, because
sure.
The girls, the women that are coming into, Division 1, 2, 3, they're so good, and they're only going to get better. And especially as the game grows and has more visibility, from coast to coast, that's going to grow it even more. I'm really excited to see where it goes. And again, it seems like a long time, but it's definitely not a long time in the time span that I've been playing and involved, and seeing where it's gone and players are going to be incredible. Like I know my body hurts now. I don't have much longer to play. I'm excited to see where, you know, my daughter ends up in the scope of the athletes that are playing with her right now. I mean, the kids, she's a 2026 player, and I would bet the farm that team could probably come close to wiping most varsity teams in the area off, you know,
Wow.
with the elite travel. Yeah, I mean, the
That's
level of athleticism and skill of these kids is just nothing I could have ever imagined. So
So do you see yourself going more into a coaching aspect now, especially with your daughter, or is there other parts of the game that you're going to keep yourself involved in?
well, I'm a referee as well. I'm
Oh boy.
collegiate. Yeah, I'm a collegiate referee for women's field. So I'm definitely, you know, have some big dreams with that, especially internationally, and maybe, you know, reffing a D1 championship game one day. But yeah, coaching, I'm always going to be involved in the game some way, somehow.
Sure. I really want to thank you for taking the time and showing your story.
Sure.
I've read about you for so long. It's such a pleasure to actually have you here and talk with you. Again, putting a face to a name.
You're very welcome. I definitely appreciate being here, guys. Thank you.
Well, I have to say, it was a little hard for me there for a little while because you know, your pain shines through. But the important thing I think to learn here is that if we try something and we not worry about failing, we get good enough at it that we really learn to love it. And I think that's the first lesson I think that you learned when you went outside to res was you learned, I think I can do this. You didn't doubt yourself. And that's something I pray that many in the res have an opportunity to understand that they needn't assume failure, that trying is okay, and not succeeding is just one step towards succeeding. So I appreciate your life experience and sharing it with us.
Thank you so much. I
And
appreciate it.
you had mentioned about you know, when I first got in contact with you, you feel like a star. Well, you are. You are.
Absolutely.
I'm blushing, guys. I'm blushing.
Well, it's funny because I was even talking with Michelle Boyer because she'll be on the show next month, and she said exactly, you know, a force and a fantastic ambassador for women's lacrosse. So you know what, people have taken notice, and you should be commended for everything you've done, everything you've gone through, and still come up right side up and being such an ambassador for the game.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
I don't think
Compliment noted. Thank you.
I don't think
Perfect.
it's an accident that the creator brought you here. So,
Yes.
and I don't mean here, I mean to lacrosse. So,
Thank you.
and it has its healing properties. You talked about that. And thank you for sharing with us the ecosystem that is women's lacrosse and helping us to understand that it's improving and some of the challenges that maybe we didn't talk about, but I think people can assume and assume correctly what some of the challenges are. I think girls, women, all they want is a chance to play.
Yes.
Just hand them a stick and let's see what happens. That's
We'll do the
all I
rest.
want to see. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Amber
You're
Hill.
very welcome.
A big star in lacrosse, a big star in her community,
Mhm.
and someone that we really enjoyed having on the program because
Absolutely.
she identifies what we want out of this show and what we want to do. We're not just about the game; we're about the game and how it fits into people's hearts and minds. And today, my heart blew up a little bit, and my tear ducts were working a little overtime. So I apologize to the viewers for that. But pain tends to bring that out of me, whether it's in me or in others. I want to help heal. And for those of you out there that have a Native friend, maybe now you'll have a little more understanding of why they are the way they are, and open your hearts to them and give them a chance to be who they can be, not who you think they are. So for, of course, Amber Hill and Gary Groob, I'm Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching this program. We love bringing it to you. And of course, thank you for watching NLL Lacrosse Talk, seen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network for Lacrosse Talk. News, entertainment, and other sports programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thank you for watching, everybody. Grab a stick and see what you can do.